You can be a rock star or you could be less than a rock star, and no one knows.
No one knows. You get paid the same.
You get paid the same, and there's such a demand for these surgeons that you can go your whole entire career like that.
Yeah.
Welcome to P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle, with your host, Rob Schulz. Rob is the founder and president of Schulz Wealth. All opinions expressed by Rob and his guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Schulz Wealth Limited. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Please refer to our website for more information.
Welcome everybody to P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle. I am your host, Rob Schulz, and today Jamie Rindler is in the house. Jamie, welcome.
Thank you. Hi, Rob.
Nice to have you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
You ready for this? You ever done a podcast before?
I've done a couple before. Yeah.
Okay.
It's been a while.
This was pretty laid back. Like we're just, as you can see, we're just in the office and having a conversation. And, we talk to business owners primarily, which, you fall into the category of entrepreneur extraordinaire, just based upon, what I know so far about your business. So kind of tell me a little bit about what you do and how you kind of got here.
Sure. So I am the founder and president of Marvel Group.
Okay.
My unofficial title is Spine Surgery Business Expert. I'm an expert in the business of spine surgery. And what?
But are you a doctor?
No, I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
I'm a business guy.
Okay.
But I spend a lot of time with spine surgeons, with orthopedic spine and neurosurgeons. And Marvel Group is a 10-year-old company. We operate a spine surgery healthcare program that helps hospitals partner with private practice spine surgeons to attract new patients by enabling a surgery guarantee that we call the patient promise.
Okay, so this is kind of like the core piece of your success of your business is this guarantee.
This is the secret sauce. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Interesting.
We are the only ones in the country that offer the patient promise or anything equivalent to it.
So what does this guarantee entail? Is this what gets guaranteed exactly?
So it's a surgery guarantee to spine surgery patients.
Okay.
And what it does is it covers a patient's out-of-pocket expense if they require an unplanned follow-up surgery within the first year after their spine surgery.
Okay, so, meaning out-of-pocket expenses like what they would be out, but if there is a second surgery, normally like there's a healthcare provider or something that provides for the second surgery, is that right?
Right, yeah. So if an unplanned follow-up surgery is needed, which only happens a small percentage of the time. But if it happens, it can be a pretty large financial burden on the patient. The patient might have to pay again for the surgery.
For the whole thing.
Right.
Okay. And
so what we do is we protect patients from that unexpected expense at a time when they're already pretty vulnerable. They had a surgery and it didn't go well, and they have to have a follow-up surgery. And the last thing that they need is another complication, a financial complication. And so we protect patients from that.
Okay. That's pretty cool. So this basically helps, I guess, a patient kind of go through the process and feel more comfortable with that surgeon that they've chosen because they have this promise, this guarantee.
Yeah.
And you've structured all this to be able to provide that surgeon with that from a business standpoint. What does that entail? I mean, it seems like to me that there's a lot of moving parts there.
Yeah, there are a lot of moving parts. The patient promise is the pillar of a larger program that we call the Patient Promise Program. And it is designed to improve both clinical and financial outcomes.
Okay.
Not only for the hospital, but also for the surgeon and definitely for the patient.
Okay.
And it's got a couple different elements to it. The first element is the surgery guarantee itself, which we just discussed. The second element is a quality assurance registry. So when surgeons are enrolled in our program, we follow their patients for 2 years, collecting outcome data from the patient and then putting it in a format that we can deliver back to the surgeon and back to the hospital so that the surgeon and the hospital can follow along with the patient's progress and can then use that information to also improve future treatment protocols.
Oh, I see. So you're able to collect some really good data, and then you've got a feedback loop going there in essence.
Yeah.
So you're able to come back with that information and go, well, dang, based upon what we're seeing here are a couple of things that we can do a little bit different to even improve the outcome even further.
Exactly.
Cool.
And that trade-off with the patient is, hey, if you participate and give us your feedback, then we will provide this guarantee to you.
Okay.
And so that's sort of the trade-off. In industry terms, we call those patient-reported outcome measures, or PROMs.
PROMs. Okay.
The next element of the program is a shared cost savings program. And so it essentially works like this. For every time a surgeon in our program performs a spine surgery, there's a certain amount of money available to either pay out a claim for the patient promise or go to the surgeon. So it creates maximum accountability. The patient knows that the surgeon essentially has some skin in the game. And when the surgeon produces a great outcome and there's no claim, the surgeon is able to earn additional reimbursement. If for whatever reason something happens and the patient does have to go back for an unplanned follow-up surgery, that money goes to the patient to help with their financial burden.
That's interesting because, like I said, I don't know a lot about the healthcare industry, but what I do think I know is there just never really is much financial incentive for higher quality. And just kind of the way I think of it is that, like, you can be like the best surgeon there ever was, and there's a mediocre surgeon, and the reimbursement from healthcare and from insurance and things like that is the same.
It's the same.
It's the same.
And as a patient, you have no idea.
Yeah. So what you've done is you've been able to allow a rock star surgeon to be able to kind of be incentivized from a certain standpoint based upon their success rate.
That's 100%.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. How do you do that?
Well, we take it a step further than that. And then the last element of our program is our community education platform.
Okay.
So this piece allows the surgeon to communicate with the local community these outcomes that he or she is producing, which then in turn kind of completes the loop. When patients learn that, then they seek out that surgeon, and that surgeon sees more of the ideal types of patients that surgeon and their practice are set up for.
Okay.
And that then indirectly benefits the hospital because that surgeon's practice gets busy and they need a place to do surgery, and the hospital gets busier. So we're essentially shining a light on quality surgeons and quality hospitals, and then hoping that patients will pick up on that and choose those surgeons and therefore those hospitals.
It's quite a system and process that you've built out. How did you come up with all this?
It's taken us about 10 years to build it, because as you can imagine, healthcare regulation and compliance is a very, very technical and very convoluted field.
Sure.
And you really need a good healthcare attorney group. Like there's an entire group of healthcare attorneys that we've been working with for years to help build this program from scratch.
Wow.
And there are also a couple surgeons who have volunteered over the years to help us build this program. So, but back to the very beginning, I didn't set out, this wasn't my career path. I grew up in a family business, a small business in Dayton, Ohio, that is a landscaping business that my dad started in high school. And now it's grown into, it's almost 50 years old, and my dad and my brother run it now. And there's a transition going on right now. My older brother's taken over. But I grew up wanting to take over the family business. And so I spent a lot of time doing that as a teenager and throughout college. And I literally broke my back working working too hard, I guess you would say.
You didn't fall or anything?
No.
You just broke it through hard work?
I herniated a disc
Okay.
in my late 20s, mid 20s, and I ended up a spine surgery patient. And at that time, I already had I had 3 children and a couple on the way. My wife and I have 6 kids, so at this point we had a couple kids. I ended up
Yeah, not being able to work.
not being able to work anymore, and facing the prognosis of having to go into spine surgery. And I remember at that point, my wife and I were pretty worried about the money.
I'll bet.
We had children, we had kids on the way, we had this big out-of-pocket burden, and we scraped together everything we could to pay for it. The surgery went great. I had an excellent spine surgeon. It's been almost 2 decades later, and I don't have back problems.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah, I had a great outcome. But the idea, the fear or the uncertainty of what if this doesn't work? What if I have to go back for another surgery? We don't have enough money to do that. And so that was the first sort of half-baked idea. That's where the original idea came from. But I was in no position at that point to execute on it. So that was a long time ago, but I kind of tucked that away.
Yeah.
So after that spine surgery, I decided for a career change. I didn't think I would be able to go back into the family business, and my brother had indicated he wanted to take it over. And so through a friend of mine, I got into the medical device business. A friend of mine worked for Medtronic, which is it's the largest spine implant manufacturer in the world. And he was kind enough to guide me through my episode of care and help me choose a surgeon and educate me on what had happened to me and what was going to happen. And then after the surgery, when I indicated I wanted a career change, this guy actually took me into the operating room and taught me how spine surgery works and how the business works.
No way.
It gave me an opportunity to get into the medical device field. So from that point,
That I don't know what your data suggests, but I would think that there's a certain level when you're doing like a really high volume of these things that probably the quality drops off. I don't know.
sure, yeah. I would say that's fair. It's just like anything else in life. There's a diminishing return at a certain point.
Yeah. Yeah.
So once I made the transition into the medical device business, I sort of put my 2 ideas together. How can I help these spine surgeons, most of which the surgeons I've always worked with are always the private practice surgeons. And we can talk a little bit about the difference between employed and private practice if you'd like. But the private practice spine surgeons are a lot like you and I. They run their own business.
Yeah.
They look the same on the outside to the layperson, but behind the scenes, they have all of the challenges of running a business, plus the challenges of being a spine surgeon, which is a pretty demanding job. So I enjoy helping spine surgeons with the business end of running a practice. And I had this idea based on my own experience as a patient that a surgery guarantee would be something that would be pretty cool to explore and implement. No one else was
So you
doing
just
it.
came up with that.
So we just kind of came up with it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how it happened.
And you didn't have any really model to go off of, or did you? Have you ever seen any guarantee like that within the?
No,
That's incredible, Jamie.
Thanks. Yeah, no, there is no model. We're kind of writing the book as we go now.
Yeah.
But in a kind of a nod to what we're doing, there is some pockets around the country of innovation starting to pop up. There's a health system on the East Coast that's now offering a surgery guarantee.
Okay.
It's debatable who offered theirs first, us or them, but the fact that they're doing it is I think a great thing. And it adds a lot of credibility to what we're doing because they're a multi-billion-dollar health system. a lot of the implant manufacturers have reached out to us and are interested in a guarantee as well, and working with us to develop one for their products. So yeah, I think it's an up and coming field, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, no, it sounds absolutely, well, very innovative, no question. And then the fact, I think it's interesting that you talked about, wanting to work with these private practice surgeons. It's kind of like us. I mean, it's very similar, that
Yeah.
we really like working with, entrepreneurial business owners. That's kind of our deal. And similar to kind of what you're doing in a way, although not to nearly the same creative level, we try to be a resource for them in their business, which is kind of how you made the jump, I guess, from, basically just providing devices to them, which is super important, to becoming, in essence, almost like a partner in their business, creating, it sounds like new revenue streams and, the ability to grow their business through the innovation that you provide. It's really cool.
Yeah, thanks. I think of your business a lot like the spine surgery business, as far as you guys operate in the wealth management space against your competitors are like Merrill Lynch,
Yep.
Morgan Stanley, and people who do what you do can go that route.
Right.
And they have kind of like a predetermined path, or you can start your own business, and then you're going to compete with these guys. Well, spine surgeons are very similar. They're either going to go work for a health system, or recently there's been the entrance of private equity into spine and orthopedics.
Right.
Or
Same in my industry.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those guys go wherever the big money is, but
So they're buying these practices then. The private equity
Yes.
is. Yeah. I can see that.
so private equity is buying spine and orthopedic practices. Hospital systems have always employed spine surgeons, and then the other kind of unknown to the general public employer of all kinds of doctors are the health insurers. So
Oh yeah.
United Health Group is the largest employer of physicians in the United States. I think they employ like 40 or 50,000 doctors.
Wow.
And so those are kind of the three paths that a spine surgeon can go on the employment side, or they can buck the trend and stay private practice and start their own business.
I love the way you said buck the trend, because that's a tough path.
Yeah.
Obviously it's the path that you took, it's the path that I took, it's the path that and I feel like, in some ways we're kind of brothers in arms when we go do that. In other ways, we must be out of our minds, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's just a certain characteristic that some people have.
Yeah. Yeah, so let's talk about these spine surgeons. I have a huge amount of respect for doctors, like most people, right? I mean, they're incredibly gifted and smart. Certainly, surgeons are amazing at what they do. We already alluded to the fact that they sometimes do a good volume of business, so they work a lot. Do a lot of these surgeries and so forth, and yet at the same time they're trying to run these practices, which I'll kind of go out on a limb. You may disagree with me. Doctors aren't necessarily very good at that part a lot of the time. That's what I've seen. How do you see that?
I would say that doctors as a group, speaking of them in general, they're a lot like just a group of people, where some people have the knack and are very good at running businesses, and others are not. And being a doctor or not, I don't know if I would agree that influences that in either direction. I would lean towards being a spine surgeon is probably actually more of a benefit as far as running a business than not being a spine surgeon or a doctor, because these folks went through medical school. They're obviously very book smart. They're obviously very disciplined. They make a lot of really tough decisions with limited information all the time.
For sure. Good point.
And they see like 30 or 40 people a day. When surgeons aren't in surgery, they're in clinics seeing patients.
I know the volume. I mean, how do they have time to run a business? I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah. So I think that those characteristics make them better business people. But of course, there are always, like in any group of people, there are some folks that aren't very good at running businesses, but they're going to do it anyway. And I think that those are the people that maybe give doctors running businesses a bad name.
I think so.
In general,
and I think another thing, you get so success oriented, and these spine surgeons, they're in charge 100% of the time. I think sometimes somebody that smart, that successful, that driven has a hard time relying on other people. A lot of times what I see in a medical practice is an inability of the physician, whether it's a spine surgeon or whatever it may be, to build up key people around them and trust them to do their job while he or she does their job. I've kind of seen something like that.
Yeah, and I think you can see that in any business.
Sure.
Somebody's a visionary or has a great idea, but gosh, there sure are a whole lot of other skill sets you need to run a business.
And you need other people.
Yeah.
And I think, so how hard is it for you to get in with a private practice spine surgeon? For instance, they're so busy, it's hard to get their attention.
Yeah.
And then second of all, my theory that a lot of times they're not really seeking out guidance per se and seeking out new ways to do things per se. They're more relying on their own skills. How do you get in, and how do you get to the point where you can talk to these folks and help them?
Sure. So we start at a different starting point. So
Okay.
First we go to the hospital, and one of the main jobs of a local hospital CEO is to align with the physicians in their community. By aligning, I mean make sure that they have make sure that the hospital is a facility that physician wants to operate in our case, or bring their patients to. And so we start with the hospital C-suite, either the CEO, the CFO, the COO, or sometimes the business development professional. Believe it or not, hospitals have salespeople.
I believe it.
Most
Yeah.
of them do. Some of the mid-sized to larger ones. And these people are typically have the title of business development or physician liaison, and their job is to develop and maintain relationships with, in our case, with spine surgeons, so that those surgeons will use their facility. And so we start with those people, and we talk about our program with them and how it helps create a partnership between the hospital and the surgeon. And then we will ask them if they're interested in our program, who's the spine surgeon or spine surgeons in your local community that you'd like to partner with for this program? And they will literally introduce us to those people. Then the three of us will sit down and talk through the program.
So it's a very strategic sales process.
Yeah.
Sounds like to me.
Yeah.
And it's the kind that I like because, obviously the hospital is trying everything they can to help the surgeon, in their practice and in their business. Maybe not. I don't know.
No, I'm grinning because it's complicated. But
yeah, I'm sure it is.
Some hospitals employ spine surgeons in the W-2, like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And we're 100% focused on those private practice spine surgeons who they bring a lot of benefit to the hospital that they bring their patients to.
Sure.
Hospitals make a lot of money off of spine surgery, and none of that goes to the surgeon.
Oh, believe me, I know that. I've looked at my bills from surgery before, and it just floors me. First of all, how much expense there is, and then I look down, I'm like, okay, who's the most important person to this whole process for a positive outcome? It was definitely the surgeon, right? And I look at what they got paid, and I'm like, it always just seems a little low to me.
It does
I don't know.
Yeah, it does seem a little unfair. a brain surgery. So we work with, in spine surgery, it's either an orthopedic spine surgeon or a neurosurgeon doing.
Yeah, because it goes all the way down, I guess, from your brain down. Yeah,
so,
brain stem and all that.
So neurosurgeons they do surgery on the nervous system, which starts with your brain, runs down your spinal cord, and then your peripheral nerves that go out to the rest of your body. Orthopedic surgeons, subspecialty orthopedic spine surgeons, work on the spine, but their training and their approach is more based off the skeletal system, the bones, right?
Yeah.
But your spine is mostly bone and it's bone and nerve essentially, and so they both work on the spine. But a neurosurgeon does brain surgery as well. Orthopedic spine surgeons do not do brain surgery, but you might be shocked to find out that some brain surgery, like a craniotomy, or which is basically drilling a hole in your skull and getting access to the brain. A neurosurgeon might get like $900 to $1,200 to do that brain surgery on you, or your mom, or your cousin, or your friend. And then later in the day, your muffler breaks on your car and you take it down the street to get repaired, and they want $2,000 to replace your muffler, right?
Right.
And your muffler comes with a warranty, and your brain surgery does not, and it just it doesn't add up sometimes.
It doesn't add up, and your industry is no different than a lot, or I would say, well, a lot of industries are like this, but yours more so. There's got to be just a lot of frustrations like that. You kind of alluded to earlier, I think, there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of complexity with regard to who gets paid what and how, and all that kind of stuff. And then you throw in the government with Medicare reimbursement, et cetera, and all that stuff. And I bet sometimes it can be pretty frustrating.
It can be very frustrating. And add on top of that, we have got out of control healthcare costs in this country. Last year we spent $4.5 trillion on healthcare in this country. That's larger than the GDP, I think, of Japan. It's massive. And so the government and us as citizens, we recognize that's unsustainable. And what's Warren Buffett call it, a leech on the U.S. economy,
yes,
right?
He does.
And so there's a lot of effort to fix that, but it's such a complicated, convoluted system that no one's been able to just do any sweeping reforms to fix it.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I've always thought or focused on is, hey, we're just going to worry about our little corner of the healthcare industry, spine surgery. And there are lots of corners and lots of other facets here, but I don't understand all of the other ones, but I do understand this one. And so our solution is trying to help move our section of the U.S. economy in the right direction of accountability and transparency, frankly, between the surgeon and the patient and the hospital.
I really like it, Jamie. We call that around here just keeping your head down.
Yeah.
And I think that, there's a trend towards the successful entrepreneurs and business owners that I see out there are the ones that, as I like to call it, keep their head down, and it's like,
focused.
This is what I am. This is what I do. What I'm doing is important. I can affect change with what I do. I can't control who the president of the United States is. I can't control, whether healthcare reform on a global level is successful or not. I can't control any of that.
Right.
But what I can do is I can make a good living at what I do here. I can change what I can change. I can know what I know. I can work with humans and people and help people. I can do all that, right?
Yeah.
If I just keep my head down.
Yeah. And it also helps that at the end of the day, you know that you're doing something that when your career is over, you can look back and say, I did something good. I helped patients who were in a tight spot, and financially, we helped them cover their surgery if they had a bad outcome and needed a follow-up. And at the end of the day, that's essentially what we're doing. And we're using that to kind of motivate hospitals and surgeons to measure quality and improve treatment protocols and provide some transparency and accountability in our space.
See, and what's fascinating to me on that, I'm not getting political per se, but obviously there are kind of two different camps within the medical reform. There's, I guess, what you could call social medicine, right? Where the government's gonna solve all these problems for us. And then there's guys like you. I mean, really, like entrepreneur business people that are actually making this happen on the ground incrementally within these small portions, I guess you could say, of the industry. And I think it's a real, that's the way I think change happens, is through businesses that come up with cool ideas and then implement them like you've done. So, I think you're proof that that's a way that this can happen.
I think that's what America was built on.
Absolutely.
I think that's why we stay ahead of our competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just come up with an idea, and then fortunately we still have a great country where you can come up with an idea, and if you work hard enough at it, you can make it happen.
Yeah.
Which still, I'm just fascinated, by the way, about how you took that idea and then all the way through set this whole process that I don't think we've even scratched the surface of how complex this guarantee is that you've set up. Because I mean, you can't just write a check for that.
No.
You had to set up like a whole insurance company in essence. I don't know.
There is an insurance company that we partnered with to build this program.
I would think so.
That essentially takes on the liability of this through a policy that we created with them, we call it our revision risk policy, that we wrote together, that took a couple years to put together.
Oh, I would guess so, yeah. So that's kind of where you get the guarantee and the funding to kind of, that greases the skids on this deal, I guess.
Yeah, from a really high level, the way it works is it's a program. The Patient Promise program is a program that the hospital purchases.
Okay.
And then they choose a surgeon that they'd like to partner with. And it's always a private practice spine surgeon, because hospitals are already partnered with their employed surgeons because they're on their payroll.
Yeah, I gotcha.
These are hospitals who don't have surgeons that are W-2 employees. Mm-hmm. And they seek a relationship or a partnership with the private practice spine surgeons in their community, and they see this as a good way to partner with those men and women. And the hospitals are doing this because they're competing with the other hospital down the street.
For that doctor.
Essentially, yeah. And most hospital executives also have they also always prioritize patient care too, and this is a way to prioritize patient care for spine surgery patients as well. But so the hospital purchased this program, and then once the surgeon partner is identified, that surgeon goes through an underwriting process where they provide several years of historical case logs, and the underwriting and actuarial team at our insurance partner analyzes those case logs and figures out what the revision rate is, or the follow-up the unplanned follow-up surgery rate is that would trigger a patient promise claim. And then the insurance company prices that
per physician.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the guarantee is attached to a physician.
Wow.
And it goes back to the surgeon is the captain of the ship, right? He decides who's in the operating room with them. He decides what surgery the patient's going to get, he or she. There's some exceptional female spine surgeons out there too. The surgeon decides what medical device technology they're going to use, what biologics they're going to use, what time of day they're going to operate, what the treatment protocol is afterwards, if they're going to go to, there's a myriad of decisions that the surgeon makes. So it makes sense that the surgeon is the one who the guarantee is tied to. And then once the surgeon is, quote, guaranteed, all of the surgeon's patients get this benefit.
And then once the surgeon is guaranteed, then like you said, as long as when the outcome is positive, they get additional compensation
Yeah.
for that.
Yep.
Because obviously the insurance company didn't have to pay out as much, right?
Right.
In essence. Okay.
Right. So then the
Okay.
insurance company will contract with the surgeon to provide that shared cost savings.
Yeah.
And then the surgeon has, so what we call in the industry, upside risk, and he has downside risk as
Sure.
well.
Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's really, really fascinating.
Yeah, I think so too.
Let's talk about Texas. You're not from Texas,
No,
from Dayton, Ohio,
I'm
right?
from Texas now, but yeah, I grew up,
Yeah.
my wife and I grew up in Dayton, Ohio.
Yeah. And I bring this up because we were talking earlier a little bit, and there's always kind of some what I call moments of truth that occur in everybody's career.
Yeah.
I guess you could say. And you had one, I guess, early in while you were building all this, still living up in Ohio, right?
Yep.
And doing more and more work down here. Why were you doing more and more work down in Texas? What happened there?
Well, so I started in this industry in the medical device space.
Okay.
And in Ohio, there is a teaching hospital in Columbus, Ohio, that has a neurosurgery residency program. And through business, I had a business partner, and he and I became close with a neurosurgery resident who graduated and decided he was going to go into private practice. And this surgeon just picked Dallas, Texas. He did his research and decided that the Dallas Metroplex needed a neurosurgeon, and he moved down here and started a practice on day one, hung his shingle out.
Oh, wow.
I came down and visited, and so that gentleman, that surgeon said, I like you guys, my partner and me, and I'd like you to be my medical device supplier in my new location down in Dallas. So we hired somebody to be his medical device rep who lived here and sort of serviced the account. That worked okay, but not really. And so I ended up having to travel down here quite a bit to sort of help that individual that we hired fill in the gaps. And that turned into, I had to travel down here every week.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I would leave my house on Sunday evening and I'd get back on Thursday night. And then I had business in the Ohio area, I had
Sure.
cases I
You had other
to cover,
clients,
and
yeah.
I ran the back office as well. And so I'd work Friday and Saturday, and then I'd be exhausted on Sunday morning when I'd pull myself together and head to the airport and do it all over again. And after about 7 months of that, my sweet wife, Amelia, met me at the door one day and said, you do know that we have 6 children here, and you haven't been here for a couple months. Like, you physically are here on Sundays for a couple hours, but you're really not here. And so something's got to change.
Yeah.
And so we were really faced with a decision to either let that business go or make a move to Texas. And by that time, I had picked up quite a bit more business in Texas besides the one surgeon that I worked with.
Yeah.
And it was becoming a lucrative and large business opportunity. So
Just like here, just because that's what happens here.
Yeah.
I think the Metroplex is just
Right.
one of the best places in the world to do business for
Yeah.
whatever reason.
we were doing a lot of business in the Alliance area out
Yeah.
in Keller. And
Sure.
there was a new hospital out there, and they were literally building houses. Like, every day you'd drive to the hospital and there'd be a new building or a new house starting.
Yeah.
There's so many people that
It's-
have moved in there over the past decade.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And the surgeons that we were working with were getting, were helping a lot of those people. And so our business just exploded. So Amelia and I decided to move down here. And that was about a decade ago, and it turned out to be a really good decision.
Yeah.
And so we've raised our 6 kids here and put them through school here. And now our oldest is 23, and he's moved out, and he's married. He's got his own home and another part of the Metroplex, and the rest are finishing up high school and middle school.
Yeah.
It was a great move. Texas is a great place. The Texas Triangle that I've been researching lately, which is Dallas, where we are,
Yeah.
I guess the financial hub of the Texas Triangle, and then you've got Houston, the energy hub, and then you've got San Antonio and Austin, which
Kind of technology.
yeah.
Probably, yeah.
You got Tesla down there.
Sure.
And so in that triangle, I think there's something like 25 million people or something crazy like that. And it's growing every day. And it just creates a ton of opportunities for guys
Oh,
like
it
us.
does. It's a great place to be from that standpoint. And I finally had somebody on the show that can beat me. I have 4 kids. You have 6. You beat me. Very few people can beat me on the number of kids that I have. But I have one thing on you, okay? I just paid my last college tuition bill.
I'm looking forward to that day. Congratulations.
Because mine are older. Mine are, from 31 to, 32 to 22.
Okay.
I think is where they are. So,
Where did your kids go to college?
well, the 2 youngest ones went to the University of Texas, which is where Shelley and I went.
Okay.
And then the oldest graduated and got her master's from UTA, University of Texas at Arlington. And then my second one went to Hardin Simmons University,
Okay.
HSU, which is she was a jock, she was a volleyball player, so she
Okay.
played out there, did that deal.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Are they going to stay around,
They're
Alice?
one's out in West Texas still. She
Yeah.
loved it out there. One's here. One's in 2 of them are still in Austin. Actually, my youngest is going into the healthcare industry. She's biomedical,
Okay.
and she's going to go to Madison, Wisconsin, work for Epic.
Oh.
You probably know who that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
I had never heard of them, but you know who they are.
Yeah, everybody in healthcare knows Epic.
Yeah. So yeah, that day's coming for you.
Yeah, hopefully.
But I don't know what your perspective is, but I kind of look back over raising kids, and yeah, there were seasons when it was really difficult, where I had to work really, really hard because it was just on me to make sure that we could get this deal done and
Yeah.
get everybody educated. But I think a couple of my kids at times have provided me with the compliment that it was really cool that I had a job as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, that allowed me to be around.
The flexibility is
Is fantastic.
Yeah.
And once you were able to get down here where your clients were, I'm sure you've been able to reap those benefits over the last decade.
Yeah, and probably much like you, we placed our office. It's within a mile of our home.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I can go home for lunch and come back and do it within 45 minutes, and it's great. So provides a lot. Spending time commuting every day is a lot of wasted time. So we did that. I did that for a while when we first moved here, and then learned that you don't mess with the Dallas traffic. You gotta.
That is one of the downsides for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it has allowed me to spend a lot more time with family, and for that I'm very grateful. And that's definitely a benefit of being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're super busy on the family side too right now with the ages of the kids.
Yeah, we're at kind of a cool season now where the almost all of them will be able to drive by May. So we
man.
have a 13-year-old. He's got a couple years, but
Yeah, but he can get driven by one of the siblings too.
Yeah.
Though. Yeah.
so above him we have twin girls who are 15. They're almost 16, and they require a lot of driving.
Driving them to the activities and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like at night we've got 2 or 3 cars running a lot of times trying to move these kids around. So I'm looking forward to the day that goes away.
Yeah. Well, and teaching your kids to drive it can be interesting too, though.
Yeah,
So,
we're doing that right now.
Yeah.
That's a nerve-wracking activity for sure.
yeah. It's all. None of this stuff's easy, but it's all very worthwhile.
Yeah.
Being able to build a great business, help people while you're doing it, and raise a family, and as I say, raise strong kids. That's
Yeah.
all good stuff to be spending time on, isn't it?
Very grateful to
Yeah.
be able to have those opportunities.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, this has been great. I learned a lot about the medical industry, which is like I said, is something that I wasn't completely familiar with. I'm inspired by what you're doing.
Thank you.
Because you seems to me you're just bringing some really good business common sense into, as you mentioned, a convoluted industry, and we just need more folks like you out there doing this in your little areas, and I think we can maybe affect change. I'm excited and really inspired by what you do.
Thanks. I appreciate that, Rob.
I know that some of the folks that are listening are inspired as well, and I wanted to ask if it's okay if people have questions, if they want to discuss some things further with you regarding your business and what you're doing. Is there a good way for them to contact you?
Sure. As always, LinkedIn is a great platform I use a lot. And so I'm on LinkedIn, Jamie Rindler at Marvel Group. Or if somebody wants to reach out to me directly, my email address is jrindler@marvelgp.com. So JRINDLER@MARVELGP.com.
Great. Okay, Jamie. Well, we really appreciated having you on today. And for all of you out there listening, this is what we do. We just try to bring you some interesting, intriguing folks within the entrepreneurial space to inspire us and to make us better. We try to bring this to you every other week. And for this week, we're signing off. Everybody have a great week and take care.